I think my experience from when I was a kid with like slaughtering animals maybe also had something to do with it, because I knew what it was, and it was like dirty and smelly, and it's like not a nice situation.
As a vegan, do you ever feel like you're living in a parallel universe, aware of things that many others don't even seem to notice, let alone acknowledge? I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse podcast. We talk with vegans from around the globe who, like you, are living lives of integrity and compassion with an eye toward justice. Through their personal stories, you'll come to see that you're not an outlier. In fact, you're part of an entire posse of individuals who aren't just keeping the peace, they're creating it through their food choices and beyond. You won't be saddling up, but you're in for the ride of your life. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. Hey Posse, I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse, bringing vegans together to help animals everywhere. First of all, mark your calendars for the very first Posse Soiree on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Central via Zoom. It'll be a cross between group therapy and just a fun group hang. The link is below. It's totally free, so come if you can. Given that the posse includes people from all over the world, I know the time won't work for everyone, but if not this time, next time. Next up, I'm thrilled to announce that I'll be speaking again this year at Vegan Summerfest, July 9th through the 13th in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's a fabulous event with fabulous speakers and ultra fabulous, entirely vegan food. So come to that if you can as well. That link is also below. And when you register, make sure to let them know that you're part of the Vegan Posse and that you heard about it from me. Finally, if you have show topics, guest suggestions, questions for our monthly series Posse Talk with Jen Hawk, or anything else on your mind, email veganposse.email@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. Now for this week's episode, with yet another international guest, this one from Sweden. Ulf Blomberg has always had a strong do-it-yourself streak and a playful interest in technical stuff. He's channeled both those qualities into a career in music, playing in bands, making a bunch of records, and touring the majority of Europe. He's got a recording studio called HoboRec, and he's worked with hundreds of bands over the years. Did I mention Ulf is also a vegan and animal rights activist? He and his girlfriend Gina have a black metal band called Black Birch, whose ethos is anti-fascist and vegan. So enjoy this conversation with vegan music professional and activist Ulf Blomberg. Ulf, welcome to the Vegan Posse. Are you ready for the ride of your life?
I am very much ready for the ride.
Nice. And we're, of course, coordinating across the world, across time zones, across busy lives. So happy that we pulled it together and managed to connect. You're from Sweden. Is that where you grew up?
Yes, I'm born and raised in Sweden, but I moved around quite a bit. So now I'm situated in the absolute most southern part. So I'm very close to the southern shore.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the weather like there now?
Gray and foggy and windy.
Okay. That would get me sad. That would definitely get me down.
It really does. But it's this year we spent almost 1 month in Los Angeles in January, so we got some extra sun, and
very nice. Was
kind of a loose plan to do that annually.
Yeah, that was that for a music industry conference?
Yeah, the NAMM convention in Anaheim. Yeah.
Right. And while I'm thinking of it, thank you so much to Lij Shaw for the introduction, because we cross paths not through traditional vegan circles, but through music circles. Our mutual friend, Lij Shaw, has an amazing podcast called Recording Studio Rockstars, which you are featured on there. And then after the interview, Lij mentioned to me, he's an animal rights activist. He's a vegan. So I was just absolutely thrilled to hear that. So, yeah, so let's go back to the beginning. I'm curious, when you grew up, just in your family and as a kid, did you ever think about the animals in our food system?
This is actually kind of interesting because when I grew up, my father was working as a butcher, and
Really?
we
Wow.
also had like we didn't have like a huge farm, but we had the farm animals that I was helping out doing slaughtering, and like I never thought about. I mean, we had names for the animals, and we talked about the names when we ate them afterwards. So I don't really think it's necessarily. I mean, that didn't really stick with me. Still, when I grew up, I just didn't like the idea of having to kill another being for my benefit. So I'm not sure how to explain it. In some ways, I think people can get shaped by something like that, but I think as long as you're growing up and you are influential, you can still find another way of thinking about it.
Right. So even when you were killing these animals as a kid, you just thought that's how it was. You didn't really connect the dots.
Yeah, and I remember when I was a little older, I got more interested in animals. I collected frogs and had them inside for a while and then let them out. And if some of them got hurt, I got really sad about that. And we had all those like all families probably have the like rabbits and guinea pigs and stuff like that. And I some of them I connected with, some of them I didn't, but it was basically when I moved out from home. I was about 19 years old and I moved to my own place. And that's when I don't want to, I'm not going to pay for meat or animal products in that way when I'm deciding what I'm eating. So that's when I took my decision, basically.
Interesting. And you were so young. I mean, 19. That's really just very young. Do you remember what prompted that decision? Was it something that had been on your mind for a while?
I was in like sort of leftist punk um, in that sort of environment, and I had some friends that were vegetarian, and I what do you say? I agreed with their point of view, but I was kind of trying to motivate for myself, like say, yeah, but I only buy like Swedish raised meat and from good places. And after a while, I just realized, okay, but if I'm gonna live up to that, that's so much more work than just don't consume it at all. So it made sense after a while. Um, and I've been vegetarian since then, and then I became also vegan like 11, 12 years ago.
Wow. And so how did that happen? Going vegan.
I mean, I was on like the vegan path back and forth during the whole time, but I never like stuck with it, and I think a lot has to do with just what you're used to and how you consume stuff and the people you have around you. Because back then I didn't have many vegetarian friends. Those friends that I told you about that got me into it, they fell out of it. So
I
then,
was going to ask. I
yeah,
always wonder about that when people mention the person who turned them vegan or turned them
yeah,
vegetarian often still isn't, and it's so sad.
that's
And
true.
I'm actually surprised that in your leftist circles
Yeah.
that there were, a significant number of people who were vegetarian or vegan, because
Mm.
that's often not the case.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it seems like people stick to one social justice issue, and this is where they don't want to change, because food, of course, is so personal, and it's
Mm.
just, this additional level of disconnect from the rest of society. But that's interesting. So, did you watch any particular films or read any particular books that you recall having a big impact on
Uh,
you?
Not really. I did. I mean, I watched all those the typical documentaries later on, but I was already convinced by then. So it was more like getting horrified for my own sake, and not really. I mean, more like a confirmation stuff. But I didn't really. That didn't. But I think the my experience from when I was a kid with like slaughtering animals maybe also had something to do with it, because I knew what it was, and it was like dirty and smelly, and it's like not a nice situation, even though those animals were obviously very well treated. But I don't think that, okay, this is a bit of a tangent. Some people think that if you like treat the animals well and raise them well, they have a good life, and then it's okay. But that's almost borderline psychopath behavior, like being kind to someone the whole life and then you just kill them.
Right. I know it's a level of betrayal even beyond,
Yeah,
just an animal that you didn't care for at all. And
yeah,
and not to mention you are robbing them of a good life rather
yeah,
than of a horrible life.
exactly.
So, yeah. What were they, cows or pigs or chickens? What kind of animals did you guys have on your family farm?
Pigs and sheep, lamb, mostly.
Oh, okay.
They were
Yeah, yeah. It's
very
so funny.
nice.
Well, my grandfather, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they were nice hanging out with those animals. I had my girlfriend actually had a picture of me with one of our lambs from when I was like 8 years old, when I'm just sitting with it. So yeah.
Mm, yeah, there was another guest on the Vegan Posse a while back who grew up on a family farm in Maine in the US,
Mm.
and she talked about being served her pet lamb for dinner one night.
I think I heard that.
Just
Yeah, or maybe it was a
yeah,
chicken or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, we've had a number of guests who
Mm.
were served their animal friends. Yeah,
I
it's
think that's
crazy.
horrible
But
if you
it
don't
is.
if you don't know what's going on. That's horrible. I at least knew what we were doing and why we
Mhm.
were doing it, but I still don't think it's. I mean, yeah, it's a waste of resources and all that, as we all know.
Right, right. So do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have three younger brothers.
Okay. And are they vegan?
Two of them are vegan, and the youngest one also have his own farm animals and eating them now. So a little bit divided.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you were saying two of your brothers are vegan and the youngest one is not?
Now he's raising animals at the farm, and yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. I was going to ask if your father stayed in that business, in that
Uh,
industry.
no, he became a pastor after.
Oh. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. But your brother is now the family farm is still there because your brother's taking it over, or he's
No, there
at a
was
different
not was
place.
never like a family farm. We just had some animals and we moved around. We moved to the
Oh, I
city
see.
after, and
Okay.
then some of the family moved back to the countryside, and now the youngest brother just yeah, he and his wife have like a common interest of raising animals and like the ecological stuff.
Interesting. Interesting. So when did your two other brothers go vegan? That's so interesting to me that you have two siblings who are vegan. I'm lucky enough to have a brother who's vegan, but you have two. That's
Yes.
amazing.
No, they actually they became vegan after I went vegetarian, but uh, they kind of got inspired when I moved out from home, started eating vegetarian, and they were already. I think they were members of the like the Swedish version of PETA. It's called the animal rights organization. So
Yes.
yeah, they went into that, and they were much more like activists than I were back then. Uh, Found a crowd of people they were hanging out with, doing a lot of demonstrations and stuff like that. So yeah, I inspired them, and then they inspired me.
That's really interesting. And so, how do you guys get along with your youngest brother?
Very well. I mean, we have our. I mean, it's a weird situation because I mean, we hang out in the family. We have a really good relationship in the family, and we do have family dinners around Christmas and stuff like that. My parents are super accommodating when it comes to food. If me and my partner goes there, they have already like made vegan food for us. It's no problem, but they don't have the same basic view, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's not a point of contention between you guys and your
No.
younger brother?
No, absolutely not. He was vegetarian for a while, actually. It's just
Interesting.
me.
Vegetarians are raising animals
Yeah.
for food.
In some way, I have respect for what they are doing, but I absolutely don't agree with it, and it feels weird being there, like petting their animals and knowing what will happen to them. It's yeah, it's a
I
weird
can
feeling.
only imagine. Yeah. So, and how about your father? How did he respond when when you went vegetarian and subsequently vegan? Was he
I
hurt
think
by that or did he feel
no, I don't
guilty?
think so. I think he has always been very supportive because he was also kind of like semi-political activist when he was younger, and even in always been into like humanitarian stuff. Uh, so he has respect for it, but I think he maybe thought it would be something that we would grow out of when we got older. And I remember when he like the time period when he realized that this wasn't a phase, it was like something that's gonna stick. He was very frustrated. And at one point, I mean, he's also a little bit involved with my youngest brother with the animal farming. So he was trying to find some sort of common ground where they have, yeah, as I said before, they are raising their animals good, they treat them well, and everything is fine according to them. And he wanted to see if we had some like understanding for each other there. And both me and my other brothers was like, nope. And yeah, he got almost a bit tear-eyed because I think he values our like opinions of him, so he wants to have that respect, but it's hard to give that in that specific situation. I mean, I have tremendous respect for that man in every other aspect, but not that one particularly.
Right. And that's true for me of a lot of people, you know, including a lot of historical figures or public
Mm,
figures who just are so admirable in so many regards, but have a blind spot when it comes to non-human animals. So it's yeah, interesting. So tell me this when well for one you have a long history with activism in general. So talk a little about that. How did you get involved in just, you know, that those circles and trying to create positive social change?
I mean, it was probably a mix up through the music scene, the punk scene, which at least in Europe, the punk scene is very much into veganism and social justice overall. So it's like it was easy. I mean, I went to demonstrations and some activist stuff when I was younger. Not as much when I'm older. I do it more through expression of art and stuff like that. I mean, it's a nice feeling when you because I remember when I was younger, we went to a lot of demonstrations against circuses that had animals in the shows, which was a big deal then. Now there are no animal circuses in Sweden anymore because it's illegal. So I mean, it's nice to see that something changes in a good direction, and that maybe you had something to do with it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know
And tell
how
us
is that
about
in USA, by the way, with animal circuses. Is it allowed or?
I don't I don't think there's a federal law against it, but I do know that Ringling Brothers, which is the biggest circus company, that
Mm,
they stopped using animals in their circuses.
mm,
And so that was a huge step forward. And I too have been to circus protests
mm,
here in Nashville. So it's only within a few years that has changed. But yeah, I don't know if there's a federal law against it. I don't believe so.
Uh,
But yeah, it's definitely for Ringling Brothers to stop was again just a huge step forward. But tell us about your music journey. So were you always into music just from the time you were a kid?
yeah, I think that's the good part I got from my father, I guess. He was always very much into music and also very much into like the DIY sentiment of like you can do whatever you want by yourself. You don't have to wait for anyone else to do it. So he was.
Mm.
I remember when I was very young, he was already like renting a portable recording rig so he can record his own music, and I was very very inspired by that. So much that that's my full time job now, which is funny, but um, yeah. So it comes from there, and I guess also a lot of the music they listened to when I was a kid. My parents was like not all of it, but some of it was kind of activist music, like proletarian stuff. And then I started to playing in bands, and we got into touring in Europe, and there was always a lot of animal activism, always vegan food at all the venues we played, a lot of bands that was into that whole thing. The only thing that I found difficult then was that I was the only vegetarian in my band. So it was like it was important for me. I tried to get it into the topics of songwriting and stuff, but and it's like when you have people around you that basically agree, but they don't really care.
Right. You're right. They agree in theory. I think there
Yeah.
are quite a few of those people. Yeah.
And fast forward now, I have a band together with my partner, and we are like that's a part of our identity as a band is that we are tackling issues of yeah, anti-fascism and veganism is like our main focus, and that's
That's amazing. Well, first of all, how did you meet your girlfriend?
how did I meet her? I met her. We were introduced by common friends. I was setting up a punk show in my hometown in a basement, and she was there, and I got introduced. And
Nice.
yeah,
And was she vegan at the time that you met?
no, not even vegetarian, and I never pushed for it. But I don't think it took more than like 6 months before she also went vegetarian. I think it's just like being a positive, like presenting it in a positive way and not pushing for it. I mean, there are. I've listened to some of your podcast episode, and I know there is a very like wide range of opinions about how you're gonna tackle something like that if you get into a relationship with someone who is not vegan. But I think like in the long run, it would have been an issue if she didn't consider it at all. But I don't think it would have been very helpful to be like pushing for it or saying if you don't get go vegetarian, I can't be with you. I don't think that works very well.
You were saying that you didn't push it on her.
No,
Um, but at the same time, it must have been kind of hard on you just mentally and emotionally. Just, I mean,
oh no.
knowing that this person that you care about, that love, isn't vegan. Like, did that weigh on you, or did you just kind of trust that it would all sort itself out?
I think back then I didn't have that many friends that was vegetarian either, so that was pretty much just the norm that I was the odd one.
Mm, mm.
No, as I said, I was yeah, I was used to being the odd one, so that didn't really bother me at the time. But since then, like the majority of my social network is vegan or vegetarian, so I think it would be much harder now than it was back then. That was like 13 years ago.
How long ago was it that you guys met?
13 years, a bit more than 13 years.
Okay, so you weren't fully vegan at that point. You were
No,
vegetarian.
exactly. So we went vegan together.
Oh, you went vegan together. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. Okay. Nice. Nice. And how was that experience?
it was good. I mean, as I said before, we tried dabbled a little bit in it before, but when we just I think it just has to do with what you're used to, especially when grocery shopping. That in the beginning it's difficult because you have to look for stuff, but when you are in the routine and you already know what you're eating, what you're not eating, I mean, it's the simplest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you like to cook? Do you guys do lots of cooking?
Yeah. Uh, yes. I enjoy it a lot.
And it sounds like your partner really embraced, this philosophy, this lifestyle, this worldview as well.
Yeah, I think she's even more hardcore than I am, I think, which is,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Nice. Good work.
yeah.
That means you are definitely a good influence. Yeah. So how is it? Well, so you do, activism in different realms, it sounds like, and
Mm.
you talk about being anti-fascist and of course vegan. How do you see the intersection of those issues?
I mean, have you seen the animal liberation, human liberation logo with the two, with the fist and the paw? And I think that pretty much
Yes. Yeah.
sums it up for me. That it's kind of linked together. I mean, it's horrible for the animals what we're doing to them, but it's also keeping humans in a leash with like waste of resources and everything like that. And I mean, starvation that isn't really necessary. So I think it has very much with each other to do, and also the how you value different species and different lives.
Right, right. And for you, like how has your thinking evolved in the time that you've been vegan? Or, maybe even from the time you were a vegetarian? Like did you become more informed, more sort of radicalized, or did you kind of get it from the beginning?
I think I got it from the beginning. I know I try to rationalize some things for myself. Like before becoming vegan, when I was vegetarian, I was eating yeah, milk, dairy products and stuff like that. And I try to rationalize it with like, in theory, you don't have to kill an animal to get the milk and like that. Yeah, I mean, it's basically impossible to not do that on that scale that we're
Right,
actually
right.
consuming
No.
stuff. So it's just,
Yeah, no, actually the word that I was using, which I don't even know if it was a word, but I was saying radicalize, not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
rationalize.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think I was more radical in the beginning of being vegan. That was more important to me as an identity.
mm,
Like, I'm not sure how I would handle the situation, but I feel like if I'm going to a restaurant now, yeah, it's a good example. If I go to a restaurant and I ask for vegan food, and they say they serve me vegan food, then I'm not gonna second guess it, or like being suspicious or anything. Like 10 years ago, 7 years ago, I would like, are you sure this is vegan? Because I'm not sure. And now it's like, I asked, they say it's vegan. It's like, it's not for religious reasons or like anything like that. I did what I could, and I mean, what's the option? They're just gonna throw the food away. That doesn't help anyone.
hmm right,
um,
right. And how has it gone over incorporating the vegan message into your music? How have people responded to that form of activism?
I mean, for me, it's very normalized already, so I haven't really thought about it. But the genre we are in, it's like a subgenre of heavy metal, which is called black metal, which is
Yeah, what
kind
is
of,
black metal exactly? I've never heard that term before.
not really. I mean, it's a pretty Nordic, like Nordic European thing to begin with. I guess it's like it has its core origins in Norway and had a lot to do with Satanism or anti-religious stuff. And a lot of the time it also went into strictly like fascist stuff just to be provocative. And a lot of, I mean, still to this day there are bands that has chopped off pig heads on stage and are really like gore and having real animal blood on stage.
Wow.
So I expected maybe some backlash and people calling us out for not being true. But we have, so far, it's only been positive reactions.
So Satanism?
Yeah.
I mean, just say more about that. I mean, because you're kind of throwing out all the stereotypes that people accuse, heavy metal of being, and you're owning
there
it.
was a whole issue of people in the black metal scene burning down churches and stuff in Sweden and Norway during the 90s.
So did they actually worship Satan, or were they just anti-organized religion?
I think it was mostly kids that wanted to be extreme and just anti everything. I just find it a bit ridiculous when there is still people now like in their 40s 50s trying to be like I'm true metal.
Well, just for anybody to overtly call themselves satanic is interesting to me, because I feel like that's sort of what the religious right will typically accuse different kinds of music being like, oh, they're Satanists. And you're just true. Saying, oh yeah, we're Satanism, veganism.
Maybe it comes from that whole thing. It was, I mean, there are, if you should check it out. There are a lot of documentaries about the Norwegian black metal scene, and my view of the people that was in it, I had a very nuanced picture after watching the documentaries. It's like a lot of mental illness and stuff like that behind everything, I guess.
Yeah.
But Satanism is also like every other religion. It has so many different branches, and like it doesn't necessarily have to do with devil worship. It can also just be like humanism and stuff like that.
That's so interesting. So interesting. Well, is it tough for you just in the music world or the activist world, where sometimes people will be on board with one social justice message, but not another one? How do you kind of combine it all, or just live happily in the world? I guess is always the question.
I'm hoping, my hope and my expectation of people is that everyone is like, what do you call it in English? Pulling their straw. In Swedish we say man drar sitt strå till stacken. You pull like the ants. Everyone is taking their piece to the
right, like doing their share. I think is.
I mean, I'm in no way perfect in every aspect of social justice. I mean, I don't really think too much where the clothes I'm buying, where they are made or how they are made. And there are other people that cares much more about that. So I just think the veganism for me is very easy for me and it feels natural for me. So I think I'm obligated to provide and bring that to the table.
Right. And so how is it staying vegan and eating vegan on the road, if you're touring or playing at different venues?
In Europe, it's been super easy. I never toured anywhere outside Europe, so I can't speak for that. But it's always been very easy. Especially Germany has a very good vegan food culture.
I've heard that about Germany. Yeah, I've only been to Germany once, and it was years ago, long before I was vegan. But in fact, my brother's girlfriend is German, and she's a vegan. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to me, because it really seems like Europe in general is so much more open to this aspect of social justice. I remember being at a political convention in New York City, or maybe it wasn't at this convention, but I remember hearing that for the Green Party in other
Mm,
countries often was very vegan
mm,
leaning, and much more vegan conscious than
yeah.
the Green Party here in the United States, where
Okay.
that's the subject that, people don't want to talk about it. People just don't want to talk about it. So have you been to the US much?
A little bit. I've been to Nashville actually
Oh,
for a
you
couple
have?
of years ago. So I've been poking around in the vegan scene there a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Nashville's pretty, I mean, at least it was surprisingly vegan friendly from my perspective. I moved
Yeah,
here from New York City and expected it to be really kind of, backwoods and
yeah,
regressive,
that's what I
but
expected to.
but there's some amazing vegan,
Mm.
developments happening here in Nashville, some great restaurants and also some great doctors and activists who are really really doing big things, which is great. But from your perspective, how would you say you feel the vegan movement is doing, in terms of the progress that we're making or lack thereof?
I'm not sure. I mean, looking at what kind of products that are available, it's been declining at least here now lately. I mean, we had like a big rise in new products coming and
Hmm.
accommodation for like a vegan lifestyle, but that feels like it's gone down. And I'm not sure if that had to do
Hmm.
with like the economic recession after the COVID, that maybe the people that are not strictly vegan but still likes to consume vegan food to feel a bit better about themselves don't really have the economic space to do that anymore. So obviously, if no one buys the products now, it's not going to continue to be produced. But other than that, I feel it's going in the right direction. I mean, everything that has to do with like animal rights is for. I know a company close here that does some like genetic cloning of cells, so they can do testing of medications and stuff without using animals, that are much more
Oh.
accurate than animal testing.
Mm.
And like all stuff like that has a lot of impact, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about you and your own health? Like, how much have you gotten into the health aspects of veganism?
That's going up and down. Sometimes I'm in. Här, Bobo, kom on. Come.
I was just about to ask if you have any animal companions.
Yeah, I have this one.
Aw.
Yeah,
Who's that?
it's Bobo.
Aw. Bobo.
Uh,
Well, your recording company is called HoboRec.
yes.
Like, but this guy is Bobo, not
Yeah,
Hobo.
he came into the family after the company, so that was just a coincidence.
That's so funny. Where did he come from? How did you find him?
We adopted him from a lady that was mentally very ill, so she couldn't take care of him anymore. She couldn't go out at all, so she had
Ooh.
to let him go. And then
Oh.
I think he was like 2 years old then, and now he's, how old are you? 10 or 11? Yeah, an old man.
And is he a vegan?
Pretty much, yeah. We like his everyday food and stuff like that. We buy vegan food. We don't really care if we leave him to someone to take care of him when we're on vacation. They can feed him whatever they want. It's. I mean, it's not his decision. It's ours.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, I decide what I consume and buy, but I mean, he would never care.
But I'm sure he enjoys the vegan food you give him. So,
Absolutely. I mean, he had some other food when we got him, and his stomach wasn't really that good. So after we got the food we have now, everything is much better. We actually
aw,
got recommended at the animal that in a pet shop where we were asking about vegan dog food, and the guy was working there recommended this brand that he used that they didn't even have in the store. So he said he
What
was,
brand was that?
oh shit, I don't have it in fresh memory now. We just pour it up in buckets when we get it. So
Oh,
veggie dog,
okay. I
I
think
think
I've
that
heard of
is.
that. Yeah, yeah. Well, I consider her my step dog,
Mm.
Daisy. She lives with Lidge, our friend Lidge,
Ah,
and I consider her my step dog. And so
mm.
she's a vegan for the most part, apart from when somebody else gives her a treat or something like that.
Can be a controversial subject
Well,
for some people.
cats are much more controversial than with dogs.
Yeah.
I had a cat named Sammy
Mm.
who was vegan,
Oh,
and
really?
yes,
Did that work out?
this is Sammy. Yeah, it worked out. It worked out great,
Mm.
actually. The transition was tricky. We tried several different kinds of food, and I did a bunch of research before he made the shift, because I definitely didn't want to harm his health. I
No,
didn't think I wouldn't feel okay with that. But when
harm
he went vegan,
harm one animal to save another.
right. But before he went vegan, he was kind of overweight. I was
Mm,
limiting his food. I couldn't give him any less food than I was
mm,
giving him, and he was still overweight and a little bit sluggish. And then when he went vegan, he lost the excess weight, and his
mm.
coat was just so shiny. It was ridiculous, and he
That's
had
nice.
lots of energy, and he did great until he got sick a few years ago
Mm.
and died. I think he was probably about 14 or maybe 15 at the
Yeah.
time.
So
um
a good age for a cat.
yeah, but I'm interested in the name. How did you come up with the name for your business, HoboRec? Because I personally I love the word hobo,
Yeah,
and in
me
fact,
too.
to
That
me, it's
was.
so evocative.
It's a weird thing because I started a company with a friend, and we tried to find all different kinds of names, and according to him, the word hobo meant like aggression or aggressiveness in Russian, and I have no
Oh,
idea if that's true.
I
But
don't know that either.
I looked more like a hobo back then than I do now. Like I had long hair and long beard, and just looked like a hobo. So it was, yeah, it was kind of a good name. And if you just use the same, if you go back to Russian, then if you use the same letters, HOBO, but in the Cyrillic letters, it's Novo, which means new. So
Yeah,
it's a double meaning.
perfect. Perfect. So well, I just love that you're incorporating veganism into your music and into your art, because
Yeah,
that's a subject that I'm passionate about as well. Just normalizing veganism through the arts,
yeah.
which to me, it just casts a much wider and more authentic tent than we could through direct vegan activism.
Hmm.
So, yeah, how has your art evolved in conjunction with your veganism?
Oh, that was a tricky question. um, I don't know. That has maybe more to do with yeah, the communication around it, and uh, topics of lyrics and stuff like that. I'm not sure if it has evolved that much. It has evolved now since the band I have with my girlfriend is we are on the same page, and it's only me and her who are the band, and then we play live. We have a bunch of people playing with us, and we managed to get all of them. Also, everyone is vegan, which is amazing.
That's super amazing. Yeah. So, what's the best place for people to check out your music, or maybe even go to a show?
We haven't. We only played live once because we no good reason. I did a lot of touring in punk bands when I was younger, and now I
Over
more
it.
want to do, not over it, but I want to do more quality shows than like
Mm,
quantity.
yeah. Yeah.
So I want to do something that is really has a high quality standard.
Yeah.
But people can check it out on. We have Bandcamp. I don't think I provided that link to you, but I can send it.
Okay.
Um,
Perfect.
the
And
band is called Black Birch.
where did that name come from?
Uh, it's very tricky to come up with band names these days, since
Everything's taken,
yeah,
probably.
everything is taken and it has to be search friendly.
Oh, right.
And
Right.
so we have.
And would you say most of your fans are vegan?
I don't think so, but I
Yeah.
think, but we have gotten a lot of people reaching out and like being very grateful that we take a stand in this specific genre, because there's a lot of shaming or like self-shaming in this genre, because people like a lot of music that are made by people that are maybe a bit shady in
Mm,
multiple
mm.
ways. So they like the music, but I don't really like the message that they are communicating. So we have had a lot of people reaching out and saying that we like, yeah, they are very thankful for us providing something that they know has a good good value foundation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and speaks for what they are standing for.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how is it being in a band with your girlfriend?
That's amazing. Can be tricky sometimes, because it's a creative communication between people who are in a close relationship can be either more effective, or you don't have the same filter as you would if you work more professionally with someone. Yeah, the downside is that you may be a bit more impatient with each other. But
Mm-hmm.
the good part is that you are allowed to be impatient, and that you know that you're still gonna be there with each other. No one is gonna like quit the band or anything like that.
Right, right. And that must be just a lot of time together, you know?
Yes, we also both work from home, so we spend like a ridiculous amount of time together all the time, which is probably a bit weird, but I like it.
Yeah, if it works, it works.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's well, it's also impressive when two people can still get along and be close,
yeah,
spending that much time together. I think,
yeah. I'm
the
very happy about
past
that.
few years with the lockdowns,
Mm,
a lot of relationships didn't work because of all the time people were spending. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us from across the world and sharing these insights. There's so many other stories I'm sure you have, but we can save them for another time. But thanks for being out there and putting out great music and great vegan messaging,
mm,
and just, helping animals in your own special way. Like you said, carrying your straw.
yeah.
You're more than an ant.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I didn't expect to get on a vegan podcast when I was on Lich's podcast, but just yeah, this is amazing to be able to talk about my other big passion in life.
Right, right, right. Yeah, well that's what I love is I feel like in this world of veganism, just generally speaking, I come across so many interesting people and, just connect with people that I never in a million years could have foreseen.
Yeah,
And so I didn't want all those conversations to go to waste. So that's what we
that's
do in this
amazing.
podcast. So, all right. Well, again, thanks again. And we close every episode by taking 30 seconds of silence for all the suffering animals, human and non human, who desire, as we all do, safety, happiness, and the freedom to live out their lives without interference. So, Ulf, I invite you to join me in 30 seconds of silence for the animals, and we'll conclude with the sound of the bell. Thank you, Ulf, and thank you,
Thank you.
Posse. See you next time. Until then, stay strong and stay true.
Bye.